Oh, I was muted. All right. Uh, yeah, thanks for tuning in, I guess. Sorry I missed last week's stream. Been very irregular recently, but I do want to be more consistent, so let's see. Yeah, I mean we're halfway through the poems, so I better keep going if I want to finish anytime soon. So yeah. And today, right, we'll have a lot more of these longer poems, the 7 character ancient verse. I don't know if we can make through all 10 now. There's this really long and famous poem that I don't really want to just rush through. So let's see. But the good thing is I've cleared up my schedule, so I don't have to rush it. Yeah, I can take as much time as I really need. Yeah. So let's see. And for today, right, we can start with this first one by Du Fu. So, a song of dagger dancing to a girl pupil of Lady Gongsun. So, 关公孙大娘弟子舞剑器行并序. It's kind of weird. Let's see how the poem goes. So, all right. 昔有佳人公孙氏，一舞剑气动四方。观者如山色纸藏，天地为之久低昂。或如羿射九日落，皎如群帝参龙翔，来如雷霆收震怒，罢如江海凝清光。将纯珠秀两寂寞，晚有弟子传芬芳。灵吟美人在白帝，妙舞此曲神洋洋。语余问答既有矣，感时服饰增晚商。先帝侍女8000人，公孙剑气出第一。50年间四反掌，风尘轰动昏王室。梨园子弟散如烟，女乐余姿养寒日。金梨堆前木已红，巨堂驰骋草萧碧色。待言及管曲腹中，乐极哀来月东出。老夫不知其所在，足见荒山转愁急。All right, that was pretty long. All right. There lived years ago the beautiful Gongsun, who, dancing with a dagger, drew from all 4 quarters an audience like mountains lost among themselves. Heaven and earth moved back and forth, following her motion, which were bright as when the archer shot the 9 suns down the sky, and rapid as angels before the wings of dragons. She began like a thunderbolt, venting its anger, and ended like the shining calm of rivers and the seas. But vanished are those red lips and those pearly sleeves. And none but one pupil bears the perfume of her fame. This beauty from Lingyang, at the town of the White God, dancing still and singing in the old blithe way. And while we reply to each other's questions, we sigh together, saddened by changes that have come. There were 8,000 ladies in the late emperor's court, but none could dance the dagger dance like Lady Gongsun. 50 years have passed like the turning of a palm. Wind and dust, filling the world, obscure the imperial house. Instead of the pair garden players, who have blown by like a mist, there are 1 or 2 girl musicians now trying to charm the cold sun. There are man-sized trees by the emperor's golden tomb. I seem to hear dead grasses rattling on the cliffs of Tang. The song is done, the slow string and quick pipe have ceased. At the height of joy, sorrow comes with the eastern moon rising. And I, a poor old man, not knowing where to go, must harden my feet on the lone hills toward sickness and despair. So you can tell from the ending, it's not a super happy poem. turning his feet to sickness and despair, right? But let's see. All right, I don't think there are that many allusions we need to look out for here, but why don't we start with those? So Lady Gongsun, maybe let's just see if she's a real character. Oh, this one actually has, oh, this version has actually skipped the preface. I think it's important to look at that. So actually because in the title it says it comes with a preface. So let's see. Oh wow, I guess I have to translate it on the spot. Mm. Wow, that's a pain though. Okay. I'll try to read this, but I don't recognize quite a few characters there. Wonder if so 大历2年10月19日 something 府别驾元代宅建陵营里12娘舞剑气壮其谓之问其所师曰愚公孙大娘弟子也 So I guess like 19th of October of the second year of the some calendar, and then he was at uh, someone's house, and he saw this 营里12娘. I guess she's either 12 or there are 12 girls. I'm gonna say she's 12. Oh, okay. But anyway, she's just called 营里 12 girl. Okay. And then I guess she's very good at dancing. And so then I asked who was her teacher, and she said, I am the disciple of Gongsun, Lady Gongsun. 元开五载，余上同治，寄于 something 虫关公孙氏，舞剑气魂脱，琉璃顿错，独出冠池，自高头义春离人二之房内人。something Y 类 Y something Y 供奉舞女，小事舞者，圣文神武皇帝出，公孙一人而已。So I guess the start maybe like 5 years ago or something. And then when I was still a child, oh, I guess this is the speaker. This is the author, so not the girl speaking. So when I was still a kid, then I remember I saw Lady Gongsun at this place, and then she was dancing with a dagger, and it was very good. Basically, it was very danced very well, and then she surpassed all the performance of some place, and let's see. And she was like the most renowned, this Lady Gongsun. Okay, and then 日茂锦衣. I know I skip over a lot of stuff, but that's the kind of the gist. Yeah. 日茂锦衣, 况于白首金枝弟子亦非圣言，即便其由来，之波澜莫二。这是扰世慷慨，聊为剑气行，昔者无人张旦，善草书贴，属长于叶县见公孙大娘，舞西河剑气，自此草书长尽，浩荡感激，其公孙可知矣。So she is not really sure who is referring to here. Who is this? Okay. Okay. Got it. So this is when back then, uh, she was still very young and dressed well, the Lady Gongsun, but now uh, I already have white hair. And now even her student is not that young. So he's talking about the passage of time. It's been a long time. And then 即便其由来, uh, 之后, oh, actually, I didn't really get this as well. Huh. Okay. So now that I know where she learned this from, and know that actually they're not separate streams, which means they sort of came from the same lineage. And I feel very gladdened by this. That's why I made this poem, 见气行. And in the past, there's this guy from Wu, called Zhang Dan. He's good at writing some calligraphy. Is it? Mm. Oh, interesting. So he used to always see this Lady Gongsun dance this dance. Uh, and because of that, his own calligraphy improved greatly. So that's why, so that's how good Lady Gongsun is. So presumably her movements were, I don't know, inspired his calligraphy. Yeah. So okay. So the story is just he sees someone dancing, and he remembers seeing Lady Gongsun dancing when he was young. Okay, that's pretty interesting. So then now let's look at the actual allusions. So there's Lady Gongsun, right? So that's just I guess she's just a lady, a famous dancer. And then so 剑气. So the name of this poem is 剑气行, also, right? Or part of the name at least. So 剑气 is the name of one of the dance. Um, I guess here they translated it as dancing with her dagger, but this should be, I guess, the name of the dance actually, and or the name of the tune. Yeah. And so in this dance, right, the dancer is a woman, but then she dresses as a man and dances. Oh, she actually dances without any dagger. So, okay, so there, I think this is a pretty hard thing to catch. So, uh, I don't blame the translator for this. Yeah. But some people they say they might be actually holding a dagger. Okay. So I guess there's some dispute there. All right, let's see what else is there. And the next one should be the great archer, right? So this would be Hou Yi, who is this legendary figure who, in the past, apparently there were like 10 suns and it was too hot, so he shot down 9 of them. So yeah, very efficient uh, way to fight climate change. Okay, and then the other thing I thought was weird was when they said like rapid as angels before the wings of dragons. So what does that actually translate to? 群地. Okay, so it does talk about dragons here, but hmm. So in the 28. So Di is just like a celestial being, not really it doesn't have to be an angel lah. I mean, I guess it's kind of different, right? Because angels are angels, but it's a very specific idea. So these are just, I don't know, immortals in heaven. Okay, any more? This town of the white god, I thought it was quite interesting. Let's see. Okay, it's literally just the name of the place, Bai Di Chong. Okay. How about the Pear Garden Players? Where is that? Oh, there's no note for that. Okay. And then oh, the Golden Tomb. I think we talked about it last time. It's just a fancy tomb, right, for the emperor. Okay, I guess that's really it for the illusions. So let's actually look at the poem. And by now we know it's about, well, we know it's about, he was inspired by the dancing. Oh, okay, Danica asked, right, hi, is the lady really just a lady and not a metaphor for something else? Well, at least from the preface, we know that he does see like an actual lady, but at the same time, it could also, just because it's a real lady doesn't mean it cannot be a metaphor, right? So maybe it is a metaphor. Like seeing the real person made him think of something. So she is both real and a metaphor. So yeah, that's an interesting question. Why don't we see? Pretty interested to see this as well, because at the end, it's clear that it's more than just the dancing, right? Because it's like, oh, there's a nice dance, and then he's like moving towards sickness and despair. Like something's going on here. So yeah, pretty curious. Okay, so first, all right, first we have the late beautiful Gong Sun. They lived years ago, the beautiful Gong Sun, who dancing to the tune, okay, drew from all four quarters an audience like mountains lost among themselves. Okay, that's a pretty good translation, I think. So, and this is, remember, this is something that this is a dance that he saw really long ago. So he saw it with his own eyes when he was young. So then heaven and earth moved back and forth, following her motions, which were bright as when the archer shot down 9 suns down the sky and rapid as angels before the wings of dragons. All right, let's see how better we can translate this. So, okay, heaven moved more like up and down, right? Or moved up and down, and then it's 4. I guess it's as impressive, or it's as sure, let's say bright. It's as bright as when Hou Yi shot down the 9 suns. So not super sure why the suns are doing here. Let's see the next part. And rapid as angels before the wings of dragons. So it should be an okay, shouldn't be this. I think this should be like proud as the various immortals riding the soaring dragon. So I think he's saying there's something really, just really like heavenly about this. Because all this is about like heaven and earth, and then shooting down the sun and immortals riding the dragon. I guess also something about the shooting, the archery, something about strength. Yeah, because there's also a note here where they said the tune of what was it? The dance was kind of like a very powerful movements. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It's supposed to demonstrate like strength and the combination of beauty and strength. So okay, I can see why they chose these images. Okay. And she began like a thunderbolt venting its anger and ended like the shining calm of rivers and the sea. Okay, that's pretty good. So she's just dancing in a very, yeah, right, it's very strong, but also very beautiful. Okay. But vanished are those red lips and those pearly sleeves, and none but this one pupil bears the perfume of her fame, this beauty from Lingying at the town of the white god, dancing still and singing in the old blithe way. So now we're talking about this new uh dancer. I think it's like Li Shi right? What's that her name? Yeah, Li Shi that's right. Okay, and next, so yeah, now there's only this one. So there was all this like beauty and power, almost like transcending the mortal plane, right? Like she's like heavenly. And then now, but all her legacy, that's the only legacy she has now is just her one student, right? And dancing still and singing in the old blithe way. And while we reply to each other's questions, we sigh together, saddened by changes that have come. So I think this is really the key of why he ends with all the sadness, right? Because I think again, this is after the Anlushan rebellion. I say this like must be the 20th time I've said this in this series, but yeah, just this huge rebellion that really, I guess, brought about the dynasty's decline. Yeah. So that's why I think he's really sad that things were like seeing this dance reminded him of the good old days, but also uh it also reminds him of how much has changed. Yeah. So yeah, so it's quite bittersweet lah. It's quite bittersweet when he sees this dance. And now he's reminiscing back again. So there were 8,000 ladies in the late emperor's court, but none could dance the dagger dance like Lady Gongsun. 50 years have passed. All right. So it's 50 years, not 5 years, I said just now. So 50 years have passed, like the turning of a palm, wind and dust filling the world obscure the imperial house. Instead of the pair garden players who have blown by like a mist, there are one or two girl musicians now trying to charm the cold sun. So it's been 50 years since he actually saw the teacher, Lady Gongsun, and it happened so quickly, like the turning of a palm. So I like this. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a really good line. So 50年间似反掌. So the period of a 50 years, like the turning of a palm. Mm. And wind and dust filling the world obscure the imperial house. I mean, the emperor is in trouble. Right now, the imperial power is weakened. And so next, instead of the pair garden players who have blown by like a mist, so these I presume are the imperial musicians. And now there are only one or two girl musicians now trying to charm the cold sun. Hmm. Wonder where. Okay, I get this is actually quite accurate. And then there are man-sized trees by the emperor's golden tomb. I seem to hear dead grasses rattling on the cliffs of Tang. So they're man-sized trees. That's kind of okay. I think he's saying the in front of the tomb, the wood have already like arched, so it has already like curved down. Okay. And I seem to hear dead grasses rattling on the cliffs of Tang. Okay. It's more like a kind of mournful music, like they're making a kind of mournful sound. The song is done, the slow string and the quick pipe have ceased. At the height of joy, sorrow comes with the moon rising. Yes, so I think this is really the key to the whole poem, right? So he sees this really beautiful dance and he's at the height of joy, but at the same time, it also comes with sorrow, right? Just like the east moon rising. Wow, that's really good. Wow. And so now the sorrow has come, and he says, "And I, a old poor old man, not knowing where to go, must harden my feet on the lone hills towards sickness and despair." Wow. Yeah, I think there's not much more to say beyond this line, right? I mean, this is the key to the whole poem, the entire vibe. At the height of joy, sorrow comes with the eastern moon rising. Wow. Okay. I actually don't think I need to analyze this anymore because it's just, yeah, that's the whole story. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at some famous critics then. Oh, quite a few. But here it says it's about the last two lines. Um, it says it's just no, but even staying and going are both difficult, and it just makes the reader want to cry. Wow. Okay. I guess there is a good point. It's like it's such a big contrast when you're talking about there's talking about how the initial lines about like thunder and dragons and yeah, but after this line, the 50 years past like the turning of a palm, everything is just so it doesn't have that power anymore, that strength. So I think all the powerful images were really gathered in like the first lines. And once this 50 years have passed, everything else is just images of weakness and desolation. So that's really what like the pivot of the poem. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. So same similar idea here. He says the first half is very rich, and then the second half is like a lament. Okay, I think that's really about it for this. Oh wow, it already took half an hour for one poem. Oh no. Oh, but Danica says, "Oh, my brute conclusion is that this whole poem is about loss of glory." Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on there, but maybe not glory for the individual person, but almost like just the whole era. Is this sense like it's the end of an era, and yeah, just like the golden age has ended, and now we're like, we're in a recession, right? That kind of vibe. Yeah. So just really, I think he's just really thinking back to like old times. It's sort of like how people reminisce about the 60s, right? Or like the 70s. I think it's that kind of vibe. Yeah. Okay. Maybe see if there's any more comments on you here, but I'll start looking at this other one first. What? Why is this translation so short? Okay, because at first it's a preface, that's why. Okay. Okay, so actually from here all the way to here is the preface. And so the poem is actually only from here to here. I mean, to here, because this last part is a note. Okay, so all right, I guess I'll just read the preface first. Okay, I'll do the preface first, and then we can look at the poem itself. So, by 人杰, a drinking song at Stonefish Lake. 时于湖上醉歌并叙. So, all right. 慢叟以供田米酿酒应休暇，则在酒于湖上，时取一醉。欢醉中聚湖岸，隐蔽项羽取酒，使访在之。片影作者宜巴丘，着于君山之上，诸子环洞庭而坐，酒坊泛然，触波涛而往来者，又作歌以长之。All right, so that was the preface. Let's see. So, okay, this Manso is actually Ren Jie himself, the poet himself. So Ren Jie, he is what's this? 以宫田酿酒. Okay, so he's making wine from the grain from the official fields, and because there's some free time, then he brought the wine onto the lake, and occasionally he just like drinks, and he kind of got drunk, and then as he was drunk, and then I guess he was following the 湖岸, the shore, right? He's approaching the shore. He extends his arm to get wine from the fish. What? Oh, there's a stonefish. Okay. As the stonefish is stonefish is like a statue, right? Is it on the shore? No, that can't be right, is it? Okay, but this is mysterious stonefish, okay. And he asked the boat to carry it. And what's this? The people who are sitting there. Oh, and us people who are on board all to drink. Wait, I thought he was on the lake. What? Okay, kind of confusing, but okay, so he's near some Ba Ling Shan, and he raises his hand to, like, he's toasting the mountain, I think. And the people on the same boat, right, they also sit like they're surrounding some lake. And this boat, it's like slowly moving by the waves, and as it comes and goes, they top up the wine, and that's why they made this drinking song, to remember this moment. Okay, that's pretty nice. Let me drink some water, and then I'll read out the poem. Danica says people are shy here in the comments. Yeah, it's okay, no pressure. And you say, why would they make it separated like that? You're talking about this, right? Why is the preface separated like this? I think they just took the punctuation marks and like every break they just separated it. Maybe because this website doesn't have a good way to show like longer prose. I'm not sure, but you can look at the punctuation here. I think this will make it a bit clearer. And this circle is just a full stop, and the comma is a comma. Yeah. I actually don't think they had commas before the modern period though. So I think in the past, if they did use punctuation, it was just this circle as like a break, like a pause between I guess just phrases. Yeah. Okay, so why don't we start with the poem? So 十余湖，自洞庭，春水日满君山青。山为尊，水为昭，水为沼。酒徒历历作舟岛，长风连日作大浪，不能废人运酒坊。我持长瓢作巴丘，酌饮四座以散愁。Okay, the rhythm was actually really good. Too bad I screwed up I kind of screwed up the recitation, but I guess I just really like it when they have these like change of rhythms up. So quite nice. Okay, so Stonefish Lake is like Lake Dongting when the top of Zun is green and the summer tide is rising. With the mountain for a table and the lake a fount of wine, the tipplers all are settled along the sandy shore. Though a stiff wind for days has roughened the water, wine boats constantly arrive. Really? I have a long-necked gourd and, happy on Ba Island, I am pouring a drink in every direction, doing away with care. Okay, so it says Stonefish Lake is like Lake Dongting. So we talked about Dongting rather, in the preface, right? So this is the people drinking are like, they're sitting around Lake Dongting. Not very sure what's the significance of that. But okay. And then when the top of Zun is green and the summer tide is rising, I think the Zun is just, yeah, like a wine jar, right? The sun is like the wine jar. And okay, I'll just read it like that. The mountain is like a wine jar, and the waters are like a pool. Okay. And then next the tippler with the mountain for a table and the lake a fountain. Okay, that's what it's saying. Then where does the top of Zun comes from? What? What's going on? All right, because this is the first two lines is actually here, right? And then when the top of Zun is green and the summer tide is rising. What? What does that mean? Oh, okay, the top of Jun, the mountain Jun, is it? Okay, so when the top of the mountain Jun is green and the summer tide is rising, then the mountain with the mountain for a table and the lake a fount of wine. Okay, because so this is what he's talking about when he said Zun. I get confused because this is the only one that's actually pronounced Zun. Okay. But yeah, there's a mountain called Jun. And I guess that's the table. And the lake is a fount of wine. Okay. And the tipplers are settled along the sandy shore. I think the tipplers, it just means the drinkers. And then though a stiff wind for days has roughened the waters, wine boats constantly arrive. I don't think the boats are arriving, are they? No, it should be our little wine boat. Or maybe it is wine boats. Still a bit curious, eh? Like, the story is very confusing to me. Because isn't he what? Okay, I guess he is drinking with his friends using the wine that he made, but he has like servants bringing wine to him on the boats. Is that right? So that's why there are wine boats constantly arriving. Okay, kind of vague. All right, but anyway, I have a long necked gourd and happy on Bar Island. I'm pouring a drink in every direction, doing away with care. Okay, I don't know what else to say about this. It just seems like a good old time drinking in the middle of a lake with like free flow. It would be nicer actually. Drinking in a river. I mean a lake in the nature. There's nothing much. People said this. Oh, this is a pretty short poem, and it's quite cute. I think it's a strange meter, but it's quite lovable. It says this simple but profound and a state that is not easy to accomplish. I don't know how profound it is. It's just like a good time, right? Okay. See if you have any comments. Yeah. I'll just look through the other poems. I think there's quite a lot of stuff going on. Like the longest one should be not this. Okay, actually these are all pretty long. Yeah, man, I don't know if my voice will last me through all of that, but I think this is really long. Like, I feel like this will take like an hour on its own. Oh, this is long too. Jeez. Maybe I have to stop. Like, I don't think I could do all this in a day. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I guess I can try to get to like one of the long ones. And I'll see if I have the energy for that. Because this is like, I'm sure I could just do one whole session on this. I mean, this is a really famous poem too. So, okay. Oh, a suggestion from Jose. There's a special episode for each, maybe. Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, I think in the future, I'll probably make an exclusive video for this when I research more about it. Yeah, like a non-live stream video, because this is like a super famous poem. Well, let's see. Let's see. Hoping my voice can last for at least another 1 to 2 hours. I don't usually talk so much in real life, so it's quite heavy on my voice to do these live streams. All right, so let's look at this. Hanyu. So quite a few Hanyu poems coming on. And then it says, choose a shorter one. Keeping your own health is important. Oh, thanks. I'll try that, but I also do want to get through these. So yeah. Let's see how much we can do today. Here, 100 mountain stones. And sorry, I guess just yeah, thanks for being so considerate. I shouldn't. Oh yeah, it's really nice of you. Yeah. I think usually I'm just like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but always forget to look after myself. So okay, so this Hanyu mountain stones, 山石. Right, let's start with this. 山石落却行经微，黄昏到寺蝙蝠飞。升堂坐阶新雨足，芭蕉叶大枝子肥。僧言古壁佛画好，以火来照所见稀。铺床拂席置羹饭，书立一足把握机。夜深静卧百虫绝，清月出林光入飞。天明独去无道路，出入高下穷烟飞。山红涧碧分蓝漫，石见松立皆石尾。当流赤足踏见石，水声唧唧风吹衣。人生如此自可乐，岂必直树为人讥 wild guess 为人讥皆哉勿挡二三字，安得至老不更归。Rough were the mountain stones, and the path very narrow, and when I reached the mountain, bats were in the dusk. I climbed to the hall, sat on the steps, and drank the rain-washed air. Among the round gardenia pots and huge banana leaves, on the old wall sit the priest, were Buddhas finely painted. And he brought a light and showed me, and I called them wonderful. He spread the bed, dusted the mats, and made my supper ready. And, though the food was coarse, it satisfied my hunger. At midnight, while I lay there not hearing even an insect, the mountain moon with a pure light entered my door. At dawn, I left the mountain and, alone, lost my way. In and out, up and down, while a heavy mist made brook and mountain green and purple, brightening everything. I am passing sometimes pines and oaks, which 10 men could not girdle. I am treading pebbles barefoot in swift running water. Its ripples purify my ear, while a soft wind blows my garments. These are the things which, in themselves, make life happy. Why should we be hemmed about and hampered with people? O chosen pupils, far behind me in my own country. What if I spent my old age here and never went back home? Okay, so we know that he is on a mountain. And yeah, okay, so he's on a mountain and he was going to his temple. And there he sort of had supper. I guess he's staying the night, right? He ate and he was lying there and looking at the sky. So, and then next morning he left the mountain with a heavy mist. I'm not very sure how the mist makes it green and purple. Okay. Maybe because it's dawn. Okay, because it's dawn, that's why it's like red sunlight, right? Okay. And he's passing by all these things. This huge tree, right? 10 men could not girdle means like they could not like, if they stretch out their arms and like try to form a circle, like they could not hug the tree, right? If there were 10 of them. So this first part, it's really describing the scenery, kind of, I guess you could call it scenery. But there's also this interaction with the priest, right? So yeah. Now it says, ripples purify my ear, while a soft wind blows my garments. These are the things which, in themselves, make life happy. Why should we be hemmed about and hampered with people? Oh, oh, chosen pupils, far behind me in my own country. What if I spent my old age here and never went back home? This like very antisocial vibes, introvert vibes. Why should we be hemmed about and hampered with people? Hmm. Hmm. Not sure what to make of this beyond like he's really enjoying his vacation. I mean, there is something spiritual about it, right? Since he's staying in a temple. And, you know, mountains are very spiritual places. But, hmm. Oh, it's quite a lot of. Oh, it's quite an influential poem, apparently. Interesting. Let me just look at some of the comments. I think don't really see what else it's trying to say here. Hmm. I mean, it doesn't have to say anything else. It could just be like, oh, this is such a beautiful and profound place. I just want to live here. So, hmm. I think they're just all saying it's very well written, which I agree. And yeah, I mean, there's no deeper meaning, it seems. It's just, the purity of the sentiment or the strength of the idea, the strength of feeling here is that's enough to make it a good poem. Which I agree, it's a really good poem. So it's a good poem that I have nothing to talk about. But yes, I do like this poem. Yeah. Okay. I guess my favorite line would be I like this one where like the 10 men could not like girdle the tree. That's really nice. And I like this. It made the colors here. It made the brook and mountain green and purple. Like, yeah, wow. Also, I guess the description of the life in the temple is really, it's really charming. Yeah. Oh, at midnight, I lay there not hearing even an insect. The mountain moon with a pure light entered my door. Right? This is like, I don't know, this like living in a hostel or something. It's like, well, no, this is way better. But it's like, it's not very fancy, but I think the atmosphere makes up for it. It just feels very spiritual. This depiction of the mountain. So yeah, good poem. I wonder if you have any thoughts or have any favorite lines. So Danica asks, how do you know when a poem is just simple or not? Yeah, it's hard to say, right? I also can't tell, but because if you remember, there's one poem we read where it's just like this very famous poem, right? It's like I think it's at this yellow crane tower, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm seeing such a beautiful scenery, and if you want to see more, you need to go up, go up one more floor." Which sounds very simple, but I mean, it's always been, or it's been taken to mean like this going up one more story, this 更上一层楼, is this taken as a metaphor for like improving yourself, like always always leveling up, essentially. So I don't know. I think maybe you can even say no poem is like, or maybe what makes a poem profound is what you take out of it. And so if you can manage to take something profound out of this poem, then that's enough to make it profound. Yeah. So in some sense, okay, this is kind of a stretch where you can say like there are no bad poems, there are only bad readers. But I mean, I disagree, right? There are pretty bad poems. So I think there are some poems that are like, if a poem is good, like if like a poem has to, there has to be something about the poem that makes you able to read things out of it, right? For you to be able to take some lessons out of it. So I don't know. It's kind of a difficult question, I guess. But at least for this, I have some trouble uh uh finding a deeper lesson. Well, I mean, I guess the deep lesson is just, oh, it's just a vibe. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer to this, I guess. But I think that's why it's kind of helpful to look at the ancient comments as well, just to see what other lessons other people take out of it. Yeah. Oh, and you say it would be very funny if what we see as deep poems today were actually just reviews of inns in ancient times. Right? It's like Airbnb reviews, right? Like if you just take a Airbnb review and then you just like, I don't know, mess with the punctuation, can you make people think it's a deep poem? Or like Yelp reviews. Yeah. It's a good point. I mean, I think honestly, people at that time, they also wrote poems as like in reviews, right? As like food reviews. Like it's just because I think to them poems are a very flexible medium, and it's just to express how you feel. So I think part of a function of a poem could also be to, yeah, just give these reviews. So pretty interesting. Yeah. I think Airbnb reviews would be improved if they all rhymed. Okay, maybe we could try this next one. That would be 5 poems for today. We really spent the most time on the first poem. Then we went through like 3 or 4 in like the next half hour. But okay. Here is another Hanyu poem on the festival of the moon to sub-official Zhang. So 8月15夜赠张公曹。仙云似卷天无合，清风吹空热疏波。沙平水稀声隐绝，一杯相属君当歌。君歌声酸词且苦，不能听中泪如雨。洞庭连天酒宜高，蛟龙出没心无号。十生九死道关锁，幽居默默如藏官。如藏桃。下床未蛇，食未药。海气湿者熏心骚。昨夜对，昨者周前捶大鼓。四皇既盛，登回高。射书一日行万里，罪从大慈皆处死。 牵着追回留着还。地狭荡垢，清朝班。周家声名史家义，坎坷只得遗荆蛮。判司闭关不堪说，未免垂处尘埃间。同时被流多上道，天路悠险难追攀。君歌且休听我歌，我歌今与君书科。一年明月今宵多，人生有命非由他。有酒不欢奈明何。The fine clouds have opened, and the river of stars is gone. A clear wind blows across the sky, and the moon widens its wave. The sand is smooth, the water still, no sound and no shadow, as I offer you a cup of wine, asking you to sing. But so sad is this song of yours, and so bitter your voice, that before I finish listening, my tears have become a rain. Where Lake Dongting is joined to the sky by the lofty Nine-Delt Mountains, dragon crocodiles rise and sink, apes flying foxes whimper. At a 10-to-1 risk of death, I have reached my official post, where lonely I lived and hushed, as though I were in hiding. I leave my bed, afraid of snakes. I eat, fearing poisons. The air of the lake is putrid, breathing its evil odors. Yesterday, by the district office, the great drum was announcing the crowning of an emperor, a change in the realm. The edict granting pardons runs 300 miles a day. All those who were to die have had their sentences commuted, the unseated are promoted, and exiles are recalled. Corruptions are abolished, clean officers appointed. My superior sent my name in, but the governor will not listen, and has only transferred me to this barbaric place. My rank is very low and useless to refer to. They might punish me with lashes in the dust of the street. Most of my fellow exiles are now returning home, a journey which, to me, is a heaven beyond climbing. Stop your song, I beg you, and listen to mine, a song that is utterly different from yours. Tonight is the loveliest moon of the year. All else is with fate, not ours to control. But refusing this wine, may we choose more tomorrow. What? This is so confusing. So I guess this sub-official Zhang has this whole thing about he's singing this song about being exiled, and it's really scary. Like and then Han Yu saying, "Stop, please. Let's talk about this instead," which is about how today is wonderful because it's the 15th day of the 8th month. It's Mid-Autumn Festival. Yeah. So it's like quite a nice day. And yeah. So it's like an auspicious day. It's like a celebration, right? So everything else is with fate, not ours to control. But refusing this wine, may we choose more tomorrow. So he's saying the only thing we can choose is to drink more now. But if you don't drink now, maybe you'll regret it tomorrow. So I think it's about not thinking too much about their fate. I'm not really sure what is Han Yu already exiled here? Or is his friend being exiled? Okay, so the story is Han Yu and his friend Zhang Shu, right? Or Zhang Gongcao. So okay, Han Yu and his friend Zhang. So they were both officials, and they sort of made a bad recommendation to the emperor. They were essentially, the emperor didn't like their opinions, and say they both got demoted to like super like distant and like rural places. And you remember back in the day, they didn't have planes, right? Like it's, so being banished, well, it's not really banished, like just demoted to a faraway place it's really a big, big punishment. But yeah, but he's saying that however, on the first month of this year 805, there's a new emperor came into power and he pardoned everyone. Oh, but then on the 8th month, another emperor came to power. Oh wow, he only ruled for like 7 months. Okay. And so I think he also gave like pardons. And so but because despite these pardons, right, the two of them, they weren't able to be sent back. Despite the pardon, they weren't able to be sent back to the capital, but they were changed to, I guess, a less rural place called Jiangling. And yeah, so during this day, I guess they're sort of like commiserating, right? Like Zhang, what was the name they translated here? Zhang, sub-official Zhang is like, oh man, I was sent to such a like shitty place. Oh, I was afraid of snakes, like all these animals. Right. So it's like Australia. You know what? Now that we have the context, why don't we read this again? Okay, so I think this is just to say like it's the time of the year. The river of stars should be the Milky Way, right? And so now, okay, the clear wind blows and the moon widens its wave. Sand is smooth, water is still, no sun and no shadow. And so now the two of them are drinking, Han Yu and his friend, sub-official Zhang. So Han Yu gives sub-official Zhang a cup of wine and says, sing me a song, bro. And then, but his friend is so depressed that he's just like killing the vibe. So this is his song. He's like, oh, I was sent to this place where there's like all these like wild creatures, and I had like a 10% chance of surviving. So there I was sent to work, and lonely I live and hush as though I were in hiding. I leave my bed afraid of snakes. I eat fearing poison. The air of the lake is putrid, breathing its evil odors. Okay, so I shouldn't make fun of it. It does sound pretty serious. Okay, and then so he says, yesterday by the district office, the great drum was announcing the crowning of an emperor, a change in the realm. The edict granting pardons runs 300 miles a day. All those who are to die have had their sentences commuted. The unseated are promoted and exiles are recalled. Corruptions are abolished, clean officers appointed. So this is the pardon because of the new emperor. And then, or maybe I guess there were two new emperors, but yeah. So next, my superior sent my name in, but the governor would not listen and has only transferred me to this barbaric place. So even though there were the pardons, he did not get pardoned in the way that he would like. So things are slightly better, but not great, I think. My rank is very low and useless to refer to. They might punish me with lashes in the dust of the street. Many of my fellow exiles are now returning home, a journey which to me is a heaven beyond climbing. So his other people are able to return to the capital, but he does not have access to this. And this the same is also true of Han Yu, right? So that's why when he shares this, he's also crying. And then Han Yu says, stop your song, I beg you, and listen to mine, a song that is utterly different from yours. So he's saying, the same is also true for me, but let's look at it another way. And he says, tonight is the loveliest moon of the year. All else is with fate, not ours to control. but refusing this wine, may we choose more tomorrow. So, we should just enjoy today. It is Mid-Autumn Festival, the loveliest moon of the year. Everything else is out of our control, so why worry about it, right? The only thing we can control is if we choose not to drink now and we regret it tomorrow. It's like, wow, okay. This actually really is a really good way to think about it. Yeah. I think Han Yu has a good attitude here. I don't know, I find this poem like super interesting. Like the structure is super interesting. Okay, see some of your comments. You say, haha, yeah, it switched the mood pretty fast. And Jose says, sounds like it's a good day, but I'm too depressed to enjoy it. Yeah, sounds about right, huh? That's definitely the first part. And then Danica says, I see it as a way of saying that he has doubts about the possibility of enjoying wine, since things change really fast and unexpectedly. They weren't forgiven, it seems. Yeah, I think they weren't forgiven, that's right. And it sounds like a talk between two characters. So yeah, I think so. So it's between Han Yu and his friend, right? Zhang. So it's to this part where you said he has doubts about the possibility of enjoying wine. I don't know. I do think he wants to be more optimistic because because that's why he says, stop, stop making me cry. Just why don't you try looking at it my way? But I think maybe there could also be this sense of a bit of pessimism in the optimism, right? Because he's like, I mean, clearly you could always get more wine tomorrow. So maybe he's also saying like, if we don't drink now, maybe we'll be even more screwed tomorrow. So I guess there is also that undercurrent of that. So that's a good point. But I think he's trying very hard to look at the silver lining here. Yeah. I also think it's interesting that his part is so short, right? The optimistic part is just like so short. It's almost like, let's not think about it. Let's just drink. Whereas this guy, he's like, the more he thinks about it, the more depressed he gets. So, I really like this. Like the structure is so interesting. Like you said, it's like between two characters, right? And it's two characters sort of reciting poems to each other within this one poem. And yeah, wow, super interesting. I wonder. And please give more comments if you have. I don't know. I just really like this. I want to talk more about it, but I also don't know what to say. Yeah, just really, really interesting poem. The structure is so interesting, and the ending as well. Okay. You say, the last words of the poem are written like a question, which made me think he's doubting. Interesting. That's a good point. Because he's not saying, oh, if we refuse this wine, we can't choose tomorrow. But he's saying, may we choose more tomorrow. If I can go on a quick tangent here, right? I think this actually is it's a very Zhuangzi vibe. I think I talked about Zhuangzi before. It's just this famous person, famous like Taoist. And one thing that he does is like he kind of doubts like he's kind of a skeptical guy, but he sort of uses the skepticism to his advantage. So he's like, we it's hard for us to know anything for sure. So then we should make use of that to try to look on the bright side. So he says, like if you're afraid of death, he says, how do you know that death is not like uh, a lost child returning home? So how do you know that death is bad? I think this is the same vibe here where he's using the uncertainty by trying to frame it in a positive way, right? Because he could also say like, how do we know? So I guess Zhang is more of the uncertainty. He's reading it in a bad way. He's framing it like, oh, how do we know uh if things won't get worse? Almost, right? But then Heinrich's saying, how do we know uh how do we know things won't get better? No, that's not exactly right. But it's like, how do we know uh how do we know now is not the best time to enjoy ourselves? Yeah. Something like that, yeah. I think that's a good point about the questioning. And yeah, and it made me think of Zhuangzi because he's just always asking these questions. Yeah. So it's like, oh, how do we know death is not good? Something like that, right? Yeah. So this whole last part really has like a lot of Zhuangzi vibes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I should read Zhuangzi in the future. It would be nice to read it on stream. It's so hard. Studied it for like a whole year. Still can't recognize like half the words in there. hmm. This guy's comment is not very helpful. It's like, oh, this poem very emotional. Like, okay. Uh, hmm. Interesting. Is this nothing? Apparently, it says none of this it follows the rhymes, maybe. And there's a lot of rhyme shifts. Interesting. Okay, nothing super useful here, but yeah, I really love this poem. Uh, mm, I think the last two lines especially. 人生由命非由他，有酒不饮奈明何? All else is with fate, not ours to control, but refusing this wine, may we choose more tomorrow. So, yeah. Odenica says, yes, that's what I thought. Yeah, so, all right, really good poem. I think probably the favorite I've read in a long time. Okay, maybe let's move on to this next one. Also by Han Yu. Stopping at a temple on Heng Mountain, I inscribed this poem in the gate tower. This 夜恒日庙，岁宿日寺题门楼。五日继续接三公，四方缓阵松当中。我为地荒足妖怪，天甲神柄专其雄。恨云谢物藏半腹，虽有绝顶谁能穷？我来正逢秋日节，阴气眉会眉舞清风，浅心墨导若有应，岂非正直能感通？须臾尽扫众风出，仰见突兀称清空。紫盖连岩接天竹，接天柱，石岭腾 至堆筑容，僧然破洞下马拜，松柏亦尽屈灵宫，分墙单柱动光彩，鬼物图画填青红，生阶雨楼见腐酒，日以飞薄，鸣其中。庙内老人识神意，虽须真似能执功，手持杯教到我至，云此罪及于男童。窜逐蛮荒性不死，衣食财足肝肠中。猴王将相望久绝，神宗日服难为功。夜头佛寺上高阁，星月掩阳，云红龙。人民中动不知属，杲杲寒日生于冬。Wow, this guy's Chinese is so good. A lot of difficult characters. Right. The 5 holy mountains have the rank of the 3 dukes. The other 4 make a ring, with the Song mountain midmost. To this one, in the fire road south, where evil signs are rife, heaven gave divine powers, ordaining it appear. All the clouds and hazes are hidden in its girdle, and its forehead is beholden only by a few. I came here in autumn, during the rainy season, when the sky was overcast and the clear wind gone. I quieted my mind and prayed, hoping for an answer, for assured righteous thinking reaches to high heaven. And soon all the mountain peaks were showing me their faces. I looked up at a pinnacle that held the clean blue sky. The white-purple canopy joined the celestial column. The stone granary leapt, while the fire god stood still. Moved by this token, I dismounted to offer thanks. A long path of pine and cypress led to the temple. Its white walls and purple pillars shone, and the vivid color of gods and devils filled the place with patterns of red and blue. I climbed the steps and, bending down to sacrifice, besought that my pure heart might be welcome in spite of my humble offering. The old priest professed to know the judgment of the god. He was polite and reverent, making many bows. He handed me divinity cups. He showed me how to use them, and told me that my fortune was the very best of all. Though exiled to a barbarous land, mine is a happy life. Plain food and plain clothes are all I ever wanted. To be Prince, Duke, Premier, General was never my desire. And if the god would bless me, what better could he grant than this? At night I lie down to sleep in the top of a high tower, while moon and stars glimmer through the darkness of the clouds. Apes call, a bell sounds, and ready for dawn, I see arise, far in the east, the cold bright sun. Wow. This guy is so good. Wow. Such a positive guy. Okay, so I think there are quite a few things we need to quite a few allusions we need to figure out here. So definitely, even this first part, right? The 5 holy mountains have the rank of the 3 dukes. So what are the 3 dukes? Okay, let's see. What are the 5 holy mountains? The 5 holy mountains are... Oh, they didn't say here, but yeah, they're 5 holy mountains in China lah. Yeah. And then the 3 dukes, this is in the Zhou dynasty. There are the 3, I guess the 3 highest official positions. Okay, so it's saying they have ranks essentially. And the other 4 make a ring. So because the Song mountain is the 5th one, so it's in the middle. And the other 4 form a ring. Okay. And to this one in the fire road south. Which mountain is this? This is on... Oh, this is a Hengshan. Okay, Hengshan is one of the 5 mountains, I imagine. Oh, okay, it's kind of slow, but yeah. So this one in the south, in the fire root south, where evil signs are rife, heaven gave divine power, ordaining it appear. So you sort of made this appear to the other 4 mountains, I guess, even though it's in the south, where apparently things are not going very well. It's funny because my family is from, my ancestors are from the south. Yeah, okay, so all the clouds and hazes are hidden in its girdle, and its forehead is beholden only by a few. So this is the mountain now. It's very tall, right? That's why the forehead is very hard to, like even midway, that's where the clouds and hazes are. Okay, and then I came here in autumn during the rainy season, when the sky was overcast and the clear wind gone. I quieted my mind and prayed, hoping for an answer. Interesting. So he must have been pretty troubled to, yeah, to he's trying to find an answer, I guess, a way to cope with his exile. Because remember, this is the same, remember this is the same, whatchamacall, the same author as before. So this is the one who was exiled, right? Okay, and then, so for assuredly righteous thinking reaches to high heaven, and soon all the mountain peaks were showing me their faces. Interesting. So I guess, is this like a vision, a religious vision? All right. I looked up at the pinnacle that held the clean blue sky. Okay, I don't get what's going on here. The white purple canopy joined the celestial column. The stone granary leapt while the fire god stood still. I think we need to look at all this stuff. Okay. 8 and 9. Oh, okay. Um, so because the mountain, Heng Mountain, has 5 peaks, so that's what all these things are referring to. There's the purple canopy peak, and the celestial column peak, stone granary, and fire god. Okay. So this is not like this is not like some celestial vision. Okay. Okay. Then moved by this token, I dismounted to offer thanks. So I think the vision of this 4 peaks really like gave him some solace. Okay, wow. And a long path of pine and cypress led to the temple. Its white walls and purple pillars shone, and the vivid color of gods and devils filled the place with patterns of red and blue. Okay. This is just, maybe I'll just check what it actually says for gods and devils. But okay, just like ghosts. And I claimed the steps and, bending down to sacrifice, besought that my pure heart might be welcome in spite of my humble offering. Wow. The old priest professed to know the judgment of the god. What, really? That's okay. Kind of a big claim. Like pretty. This priest is very confident in his abilities. And then he was polite and reverent, making many bows. He handed me divinity cups. He showed me how to use them. Let me see. And told me that my fortune was the very best of all. What are the divinity cups here? I think I may actually have done this. Let's see. Okay, but it's just some way to kind of like divination now. We also do a kind of thing in temples now, but I'm not sure if it's the same thing. All right. Though exiled to a barbarous land, mine is a happy life. Plain food and plain clothes are all I ever wanted. To be Prince, Duke, Premier, General was never my desire. And if the god would bless me, what better could he grant than this? At night I lie down to sleep in the top of a high tower, while moon and stars glimmer through the darkness of the clouds. Apes call, a bell sounds, and ready for dawn, I see arise far in the east the cold bright sun. Wow, isn't this amazing? Wow. So he said, very interesting reversal, right? The priest says, you actually have the very best fortune. Like his apparent misfortune to being exiled, somehow it becomes like the best fortune. And he says, this is all I ever wanted. I don't want high rank. And, maybe it's even better that he's away from all the politics of the capital. And he says, if the god would bless me, what else, what better blessing is this? Is just to have a simple life, being able to look at the stars, and yeah, and this last image is so good. It's like, there's the sound of like the monkeys and then the bell in the distance, and the sun rises. It's like, wow, so optimistic, right? Just the rising sun right at the very end. Even though it's cold, it's also bright. Yeah, it's just wow. I feel like every time I reach the end, I just get very excited. Like it's so good. Yeah. I mean, definitely an element of like self-deceiving here, right? I'm sure he's only saying this because that's where he is at. But also I believe there's no shame in self-deception, I'll say. Okay, some comments from you. The first verses seem to talk about court battles somehow. Oh, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Right? I was wondering why he would talk about the three dukes here, but that makes a lot of sense. And then another comment from Jose. If he was the depressed one, then he found some solace in the scenery. Yeah, I totally agree. Especially this part, right? When he says, I looked up at the pinnacle that held the clean blue sky, and he lists the four different peaks. And he says, moved by this token, I dismounted to offer thanks. Yeah, wow. I wonder what exactly he's feeling here. Is it like when you see something that's greater than yourself, then suddenly, all your worries seem small in comparison? Or because you get this sense of like how great the world is, and you sort of forget about, your little concerns are. Or maybe you're just happy to be alive, right? And happy that you're able to see this. I think this is, yeah, wow. I think, wow, I feel like he's really capturing a special moment here. Like, yeah, just this moment of like the vision, the sight of the mountains actually transforms him. I think it's very, very special. Like such a great poem. Yeah. It's just, and then he's changing, right? From it's like, oh, the evil signs are rife in the south. And then it sort of transformed into his fortune is the very best of all. I think, yeah. And it's so cool because in sort of capturing this transformation, like he's also allowing us as readers to undergo this transformation as well. So Yeah, this guy's a genius lah. I don't know. So wow, so good. Every poem of his today is so good. Yeah. I, I I've read some of his stuff before, but I never. But I think he's becoming my favorite. Han Yu. Wow. See, and all of his poems, everyone like writes so much about it. Like people all think. I think everyone is like, yeah, they all recognize his greatness. It says, I think this saying his words are like well cut jade. Wow. Hmm. Okay. It says among all poems of this genre, this is number one. I probably think so. This is probably my favorite of everything we've read so far. Oh, but maybe it's just talking about among the poems written by Han Yu. But anyway, I do like this a lot though. But maybe it's kind of hard to say this is the best of all poems of this genre, since we have like a lot of great ones coming up as well. Hmm. Interesting. So it points out how the first six lines, it goes from the five mountains and then it sort of like narrows down to this Heng mountain. So, it's starting from like so the big picture and like zooming in. So kind of almost like a cinematic effect, right? It's like you have like a bird's eye view and then you sort of like zoom in into like the specific thing you want to talk about. It also works well with the sense of vastness I think he's trying to capture in this poem, and it's the vastness that is really transformative, right? So, interesting. Okay, I think we can go on to the next one then. But yeah, wow, one of my favorites. I don't even mind. I don't even mind that Han Yu writes long poems. It's like it's gonna be good. You know. Like, okay, so let's try this one. Um, a poem on the stone drums. 石鼓歌，张生手持石鼓文，劝我识作石鼓歌。少陵无人，谪仙死。财帛将奈石鼓何？周刚临时四海服，宣王奋起挥天歌。大开明堂受朝贺，诸侯见佩鸣相摩。搜于祁阳城雄峻，万里禽兽皆遮罗。捐公乐成告万世，早时作古挥错额。从臣才艺贤第一，荐选篆刻流山阿。雨淋日至野火燎，鬼物守护凡尾阿。公从何处得纸本？毫发尽被无差。额词言意密读难晓，字体不类，这是隶语科。 年生期免有缺话，快剑砍断，砍的生角脱活，鸾翔凤柱众仙下，珊瑚碧树交枝柯，金绳铁索，金绳铁索索扭状，谷顶药水，龙腾峻，漏如鞭尸不收入，恶牙扁破无尾蛇，孔子西行不到秦，己直心素以西俄，皆于好谷，生苦晚，对此涕泪双滂沱，一夕出蒙博士威而争，其年始改称元和，故人从军在右府，为我度量，绝旧科。卓冠沐日告祭酒，如此至宝存其多。占宝洗礼可立志，尸骨其在树骆驼。建诸太庙比告顶，光价其旨百倍过。圣恩若许留太学，诸生讲解得切磋。观经洪都上田焉，坐殿举国来奔波。湾台梯显露角，安置妥贴平步坡，大厦深檐欲盖覆，经历久远期无陀。中朝大官老于世，俱肯感激图安牧童敲火牛立脚，谁复着手为磨说日消月朔就埋没，六月西顾空盈西之俗书称之眉，树脂尚可博白鹅。冀州八代征战龙，无人收拾李泽纳。方今太平日无事，秉任如树重秋科。安能以此上论列？愿借辩口如悬河。石鼓之歌止于此，呜呼勿意其蹉跎。It's pretty long. All right. Let's go. Chang handed me this. Should be Zhang, I think. Zhang handed me this tracing from the stone drums, beseeching me to write a poem on the stone drums. Du Fu has gone. Li Bai is dead. What can my poor talent do for the stone drums? When the Zhou power waned and China was bubbling, Emperor Xuan, up in wrath, waved his holy spear and opened his great audience, receiving all the tributes of kings and lords who came to him with a tune of clanging weapons. They held a hunt in Qiyang and proved their marksmanship. Fallen birds and animals were strewn 3,000 miles, and the exploit was recorded to inform new generations. Cut out of jutting cliffs, these drums made of stone, on which poets and artisans, all of the first order, had indicted and chiseled, were set in the deep mountains to be washed by rain, baked by sun, burned by wildfire, eyed by evil spirits, and protected by the gods. Where can he have found the tracing on this paper? True to the original, not altered by a hair, the meaning deep, the phrases cryptic, difficult to read, and the style of the characters neither square nor tadpole. Time has not yet vanquished the beauty of these letters, looking like sharp daggers that pierce live crocodiles, like phoenix mates dancing, like angels hovering down, like trees of jade and coral with interlocking branches, like golden cord and iron chain tied together tight, like incense tripods flung in the sea, like dragons mounting heaven. Historians, gathering ancient poems, forgot to gather these to make the two books of musical song more colorful and striking. Confucius journeyed in the west, but not to the Qin kingdom. He chose our planet and our stars, but missed the sun and moon. I, who am fond of antiquity, was born too late, and thinking of these wonderful things cannot hold back my tears. I remember when I was awarded my highest degree, during the first year of Yuanhe, how a friend of mine, then at the Western camp, offered to assist me in removing these old relics. I bathed and changed, then made my plea to the college president and urged on him the rareness of these most precious things. They could be wrapped in rugs, be packed and sent in boxes, and carried on only a few camels, 10 stone drums to grace the imperial temple like the incense pot of Gao. But their luster and their value would increase 100-fold if the monarch would present them to the university, where students could study them and doubtless decipher them, and multitudes, attracted to the capital of culture from all corners of the empire, would be quick to gather. So we could scour the moss, pick out the dirt, restore the original surface, and lodge them in a fitting and secure place forever, covered by a massive building with wide eaves, where nothing more might happen to them as it had before. But government officials grow fixed in their ways and never will initiate the beyond old precedent. So herd boys strike the drums for fire, cows polish horns on them, with no one to handle them reverentially, still aging and decaying, soon they may be effaced. 6 years I have sighed for them, chanting toward the west, the familiar script of Wang Xizhi, beautiful though it was, could be had several pages just for a few white geese. But now, 8 dynasties after the Zhou, and all the wars over, why should there be nobody caring for these drums? The empire is at peace, the government free, poets again are honored, and Confucians in mentions. Oh, how may this petition be carried to the throne? It needs indeed an eloquent flow like a cataract. But alas, my voice has broken in my song of the stone drums, to a sound of supplication choked with its own tears. Wow. Wow. Okay. Huh. Well, first thing I want to know is what these stone drums are. Hmm. Oh, interesting. Okay. Let's look at this. This gives a very useful summary first. So the first 12 lines talk about the history of the stone drums. Oh wait, no, the first 4 lines is about how he's trying to be humble. He says he's not as talented as like Du Pu and Li Bai, which are the 2 most famous poets. And then next he says, the next 12 lines, he says the history of the stone drums. And the next 10 lines is about the words of the drums, like the writing, the calligraphy, and the value in preserving it. And then the next 6 lines, when he talks about Confucius not traveling to Qin, he's actually saying, oh, why doesn't so Confucius supposedly compiled this collection of poems, right? This is called the Classic of Odes. And he says, oh, isn't it so weird that the Classic of Odes doesn't include the writing on the stone drums? And he says, oh, Confucius must have missed it out because he never traveled to Qin. And then the next 18 lines, he says, it's about the process of finding the stone drums. And then he recommends that it's kept in like, I think the Imperial Academy. So that's what it means when he says university. And then the next 10 lines is about the authorities not accepting Han Yu's suggestion. And he's just lamenting now that such this cultural artifact is just being left to rot. And then the final 6 lines, he wishes that in an era that respects these traditional Confucian teachings, they'll be able to move the stone drums to the Imperial Academy. So this is about, yeah, I guess it sounds like a museum curator It's just talking about, the preservation of these artifacts. Interesting. Trying to see where the stone drums are. I think it's loading here. Okay, so it's from the Qin. Are there any photos? Okay. So this is what it looks like. So it's really, I guess it's not a real drum, but it's just like a drum shape. And there's all this writing on it. That's really cool. Wow. Oh, these are the oldest stone carved characters in China. Wow, that's really cool. So this is like a tracing of the characters. That's what he was talking about. The tracings. Wow, that's so cool. And some of them are actually, some of them have poems that are preserved. Okay. So that's what he was talking about. I think then we should have a pretty good understanding of what's going on. So first, his friend, right, Zhang, gave him the tracing of these characters, and he says, write a poem for it. And he's like, well, all these legends are dead. Who am I to do it? And then he still does it. So this is like, I guess this is the history of where the poem on the stone drums. So okay. So there's a hunt, and I guess there's a hunting competition, and that was recorded in the stone drum poems. And these drums, they sort of made from stone, right? And drum shaped. I don't think they're real drums. And then they carved in this poems. And yeah. So then the tracing characters were traced. He's like, wow, Zhang, how did he find it? This is like looks just like true to the original. It's very deep. And the style of the characters are not too square or squiggly. I guess that's what tadpole means. It's still very beautiful. And calligraphy is a big part of Chinese culture, right? So it's not just what's being said, but how it's written now. Yeah, so it just looks like all these things, like angels and phoenixes. And that's where here he says, well, historians gathering ancient poems forgot to gather these to make to improve the classic of odes. So this is the sort of Confucius's omission. Oh wow. Look at this. He says he chose our planet and our stars, but missed the sun and moon. So he's saying these stone drum poems are like, they just outshine all the other poems by so much. Wow. And then thinking of these wonderful things, I cannot hold back my tears. So he says when he was awarded his highest degree, I mean, I don't think there aren't universities back in the day. So let's see as what this is saying. I think it should be when he went to take the imperial exam. Interesting. So it should be like this 博士. This is what we still call a professor today, a 博士, but I don't think that's what it used to mean. Okay, so it's the name of a. Okay, so I think these are actually positions in the Imperial Academy or something. Or just is the official where he's in charge of teaching. So there's 太学, and then 国子 and 博士. So that's what he's talking about when he's talking about presenting them to the 太学, what is translates as university, I think. Or like the college president, like there's I don't think there's such a, maybe the president of the Imperial Academy would be more appropriate. Yeah. But anyway, okay, so yeah, okay, so when he was, I guess, had that position as a 博士, and then his friend offered to help remove these relics, and then he the poet asked the, I guess, head of the Imperial Academy to like actually look after these things, these stone drums, and to keep it in the Imperial Palace for people to study and appreciate, right? But then they're just too short-sighted to do it, and now and now they're just left out, and herd boys strike the drums for fire, cows polish horns on them, with no one to handle them reverentially. Yeah. And still aging and decaying, soon they may be effaced. And now, so this Wang Xizhi, right, is the most famous calligrapher in Chinese history. So it says, even though it's so beautiful, like anywhere you can get it very cheaply because it's very widely disseminated, right? Yeah, but now, why is something even more beautiful, like these stone drums, they're not being cared for? He just thinks it's a shame under what he thinks is a good government. Yeah. Not sure if he actually thinks it's a good government. Maybe he's just saying that, like, because if he says it's not a good government, he'll be screwed. But yeah, he just thinks it's a shame that this cultural artifact from, like deep antiquity, imagine like it's like the Roman artifact, right? It's just like left for cows to, mess around with. So that's the idea. And yeah, wow. Not sure there's more to say that isn't said in the poem, but oh, okay. But the thing apparently is the stone drums now, they're in the Beijing museum. So that's the museum that's housed in the palace. So I guess he got his wish sooner or later. Yeah. This guy says this poem is very weird. It's very unique, I guess. Well, yeah, sounds like a interesting. It's a strange thing to write a poem about, but it is very well written. So you say, oh, he wrote it like a diary, a comment. He wrote it like a diary or a report. Impressive history. Yeah. Right. I wonder if he sent this poem to, I don't know, like the college president again to change his mind. I mean, I'm kind of doubtful that the poetry of this is so much better than everything else in the classic of odes, but I mean, it does seem like an important cultural artifact. Yeah. Okay. I think let's close some of my tabs, and I think we can move on to, how many more do we have? 4 poems. So this one is short. I think the difficult ones will be this 3. Well, let's see. Okay, so maybe I'll do everything except 长恨歌, because this is pretty kind of a big deal. Well, I'll do this one first. Let's see how much we can go through. And I imagine it must be pretty late for Danica and Jose. So I don't know. Let me know if you want me to just do the most famous one next week. Yeah. Okay. There's a bit of a lag, so I'll just start on this poem first, okay? I'll read your comments in a bit. So, all right, Liu Zongyuan, an old fisherman. So this is a different poet now. 日翁夜帮西岩宿，小集清香软楚竹。烟消日出不见人，A 乃一生山水绿。回看天际下中流，岩上无心，与云相逐。An old fisherman spent the night here, under the western cliff. He dipped up water from the pure Xiang and made a bamboo fire. And then, at sunrise, he went his way through the cloven mist, with only the creak of his paddle left in the greenness of mountain and river. I turn and see the waves moving as from heaven, and clouds from the cliff, and clouds above the cliffs coming idly one by one. Oh, so weird to read a short poem after all these very long ones. Okay, so an old fisherman spent the night here under the western cliff. He dipped up water from the pure Xiang, so this is the river, right? And made a bamboo fire. And then at sunrise, he went his way through the cloven mist. I think here it says, yeah, at the sunrise, he went his way and he didn't see anyone at all. So with only the creak of his paddle left in the greenness of mountain and river, I turn and see the waves moving as from heaven, and clouds above the cliff. I'm not sure if the I here is justified. It could be fishermen as well, right? And clouds above the cliffs coming idly, one by one. I guess it does make sense that he sees the fisherman. So he's just like, it's just the scene of him seeing a fisherman. Interesting. Okay, apparently the context is he also got demoted, and that's why he was touring the scenery. Okay, interesting. People are just saying it's like very good vibes, especially these two lines. What was it? So it's at sunrise, he has went his way through the mist without seeing anyone, with only the creak of his paddle left in the greenness of mountain and river. Interesting. Oh, I think my mind is so used to the long poems now, it's very hard to transition to a short one. It does seem like a really good poem though. Oh, you say it's 9 p.m. for Jose and midnight for Danica. Okay, why don't I finish? I'll try to do this poem then, the famous one. And yeah, and we'll see if we have time for the last few. Okay. So maybe for this, we can come back to this if we have time. I don't know what else there is to say. It's just like a cute scene of a fisherman. It's very. I mean, it's a good poem. It's just I kind of want to move on to these ones. So why don't we start with this? So 白居易, A Song of Unending Sorrow. This is about emperor Tang, I think Tang Taizong, and his concubine got killed. Jiang Guifei, she got killed in the Anlushan rebellion because everyone blames her for they sort of think she caused it for some reason. So, all right, 长恨歌，汉皇重色思倾国，日语多年求不得。杨家有女初长成，养在深闺人未识。天生丽质难自弃，一朝选在君王侧。回眸一笑百媚生，六宫粉黛无颜色。春寒赐日华清时，温泉水滑洗凝脂。时而浮起娇无力，始是新承恩泽时。云鬓花颜金步摇，芙蓉帐暖度春宵。春宵苦短日高起，从此君王不早朝。承欢食宴无闲暇，春从春游夜专夜。后宫佳丽3000人，3000宠爱在一身。金星妆成娇带夜，日楼宴罢醉和春。姐妹弟兄皆烈士，可怜光彩生门户。遂令天下父母心，不重生男重生女。立功高处入青云，仙乐风飘处处闻。缓歌慢舞凝丝竹，近日君玩看不足。渔阳皮鼓动地来，惊破泥党。雨夜曲，九重城阙烟尘生。千乘万骑西南行，翠华遥遥行复止。西出都门百余里，六军不发无奈何。宛转蛾眉马前死，花钿委地无人收。翠桥金阙日搔头，君王颜面救不得。回看血泪相和流，还哀散漫风萧索。云栈迎渔登剑阁，峨眉山下少人行。旌旗无光日色薄，蜀江水碧蜀山青。圣主朝朝暮暮情，行官见月伤心色。夜雨闻铃肠断声，天旋地转回龙日。到此踌躇不能去，马为坡下泥土中，不见日炎空死处。君臣相顾尽沾衣，东望都门信马归。归来池渊皆依旧，太液芙蓉未央柳。芙蓉如面柳如眉，对此如此不泪垂。对此如何不泪垂？春风桃李花开日，秋风梧桐叶落时。西宫南内多秋草，落叶满阶红不扫。梨园子弟白发新，椒房阿监青蛾眉。西殿萤飞思悄然，孤灯挑尽未成眠。迟迟钟鼓初长夜，耿耿星河日属天。鸳鸯瓦冷霜华中，翡翠清寒水与共。悠悠生死别经年，魂魄不曾来入梦。临穷道是洪都客，能以京城治魂魄。未感君王辗转思，遂教方士殷勤密。排空日气奔如电， 升天入地求之遍，上穷碧落下黄泉，两处茫茫皆不见。突闻海上有仙山，山在虚无缥缈处。缥缈间，楼阁玲珑五人起，其中卓越多仙子。中有一人字太真，雪须花帽参差饰，金阙西厢后日中短教小日报双重，闻道汉家天子使，九华帐里梦魂惊，扰懒衣推枕起徘徊，珠箔银屏已洒开，云鬓半边新睡觉，花冠不种下堂来，风吹仙袂飘飘举，犹似泥躺雨衣舞，玉容寂寞泪阑干，梨花一枝春带雨，含情移地谢君王，一别音容两渺茫。朝阳殿里恩爱绝，蓬莱宫中日月长。回头下望人寰处，不见长安见尘雾。唯将旧物表深情，汴河金钗即将去，钗留一股合一扇，钗帛黄金何分变？但教心似金殿间，天上人间会相见。临别因情重寄词，词中有事两心知。7月7日长生殿，夜半无人私语时。在天愿作比翼鸟，在地愿为连理枝。天长地久有时尽，此恨绵绵无绝期。Wow, it's really good. Sorry, I guess it doesn't help because I haven't read the English yet, but it's really good. Okay, so let's go. China's emperor, craving beauty that might shake an empire, was on the throne for many years, searching, never finding, till a little child of the Yang clan, hardly even grown, bred in an inner chamber with no one knowing her, but with graces granted by heaven and not to be concealed. At last one day was chosen for the imperial household. If she but turned her head and smiled, there were cast 100 spells, and the powder and paint of the 6 palaces faded into nothing. It was early spring. They bathed her in the flower-pure pool, which warmed and smoothed the creamy-tinted crystal of her skin. And, because of her languor, a maid was lifting her, when first the emperor noticed her and chose her for his bride. The cloud of her hair, petal of her cheek, gold ripples of her crown when she moved, was sheltered on spring evenings by warm hibiscus curtains. The nights of spring were short and the sun arose too soon, and the emperor from that time forth forsook his early hearings and lavished all his time on her with feast and revelry. His mistress of the spring, his despot of the night, there were other ladies in his court, 3,000 of rare beauty, but his favors to the 3,000 were concentrated in one body. By the time she was dressed in her golden chamber, it would be almost evening, and when tables were cleared in the Tower of Jade, she would loiter, slow with wine. Her sisters and her brothers all were given titles, and because she so illumined and glorified her clan, she brought to every father, every mother through the empire, happiness when a girl was born rather than a boy. High rose Lee Palace, entering blue clouds, and far and wide the breezes carried magical notes of soft song and slow dance, of string and bamboo music. The emperor's eyes could never gaze on her enough, till war drums, booming from Yuyang, shocked the whole earth, and broke the tunes of the rainbow skirt and the feathered coat. The Forbidden City, the 9-tiered palace, loomed in the dust. From thousands of horses and chariots headed southwest. The imperial flag opened the way, now moving and now pausing, but 30 miles from the capital, beyond the western gate. The men of the army stopped. Not one of them would stir, till under their horses' hooves they might trample those moth eyebrows. Flowery hairpins fell to the ground. No one picked them up. And a green and white jade hair tassel and a yellow gold hair bird. The emperor could not save her. He could only cover his face, and later when he turned to look, the place of blood and tears was hidden in the yellow dust blown by a cold wind. At the cleft of the Dagger Tower trail, they crisscrossed through a cloud line under Ermey Mountain. The last few came. Flags and banners lost their color in the fading sunlight, but as waters of Shu are always green and its mountains always blue, so changeless was his Majesty's love and deeper than the days. He stared at the desolate moon from his temporary palace. He heard bell notes in the evening rain cutting at his breast. And when heaven and earth resumed their round and the dragon car faced home, the emperor clung to the spot and would not turn away from the soil along the Maowei slope, under which was buried that memory, that anguish. Where was her jade white face? Ruler and lords, when eyes would meet, wept upon their coats as they rode with loose rein slowly eastward, back to the capital. The pools, the gardens, the palace, all were just as before. The Lake Tai Ye hibiscus, the Weiyang Palace willows. But the petal was like her face and the willow leaf her eyebrow. And what could he do but cry whenever he looked at them? Peach trees and plum trees blossomed in the winds of spring. Lacquer foliage fell to the ground after autumn rains. The western and southern palaces were littered with late grasses, and the steps were mounded with red leaves that no one swept away. Her pair garden players became white-haired, and the eunuchs thin-eyebrowed in her court of pepper trees. Over the throne flew fireflies while he brooded in the twilight. He would lengthen the lampwick to its end and still could never sleep. Bell and drum would slowly toll the dragging night hours, and the river of stars grow sharp in the sky just before dawn. And the porcelain mandarin ducks on the roof grow thick with morning frost, and his covers of kingfisher blue feel lonelier and colder with the distance between life and death year after year. And yet no beloved spirit ever visited his dreams. At Lingqiong lived a Taoist priest who was a guest of heaven, able to summon spirits by his concentrated mind. And people were so moved by the emperor's constant brooding that they besought the Taoist priest to see if he could find her. He opened his way in space and clove the ether like lightning, up to heaven, under the earth, looking everywhere. Above, he searched the green void, below the yellow spring, but he failed, in either place, to find the one he looked for. And then he heard accounts of an enchanted isle at sea, a part of the intangible and incorporeal world, with pavilions and fine towers in the five-colored air, and of exquisite immortals moving to and fro, and of one among them, whom they called the Ever-True, with a face of snow and flowers resembling hers he sought. So he went to the West Hall's gate of gold and knocked at the jasper door, and asked a girl, called Morsel of Jade, to tell the doubly perfect. And the lady, at news of an envoy from the Emperor of China, was startled out of dreams in her nine-flowered canopy. She pushed aside her pillow, dressed, shook away sleep, and opened the pearly shade and then the silver screen. Her cloudy hair dress hung on one side because of her great haste, and her flower cap was loose when she came along the terrace, while a light wind filled her cloak and fluttered with her motion, as though she danced the rainbow skirt and the feather coat. And the teardrops drifting down her sad white face were like a rain in spring on the blossom of the pear. But love glowed deep within her eyes when she bade him thank her liege, whose form and voice had been strange to her ever since their parting. Since happiness had ended at the court of the bright sun, and moons and dawns had become long in Fairy Mountain Palace. But when she turned her face and looked down toward the earth and tried to see the capital, there were only fog and dust. So she took out with emotion the pledges he had given, and, through his envoy, sent him back a shell box and gold hairpin, but kept one branch of the hairpin and one side of the box. Breaking the gold of the hairpin, breaking the shell of the box, our souls belong together, she said, like this gold and this shell. Somewhere, sometime, on earth or in heaven, we shall surely. And she sent him, by his messenger, a sentence reminding him of vows which had been known only to their two hearts. On the 7th day of the 7th month, in the Palace of Long Life, we told each other secretly, in the quiet midnight world, that we wished to fly in heaven, two birds with the wings of one, and to grow together on the earth, two branches of one tree. Earth endures, heaven endures, sometime both shall end, while this unending sorrow goes on and on forever. Wow. Damn. Wow. Damn. Okay. So I hope you got the story, most of the story, just from me reading it. I think it's pretty clear, most of it, but maybe I'll just like try to clarify some parts. But I'm not sure, like there's not much to analyze. It's just the story is very moving, right? But here's what I think. Here's some things to take note of. So the concubine, right, Lady Yang, so she's from the Yang clan. And I think there was one part where so this part, right, where she's this part is actually why they were blaming her for causing the rebellion, is because like the emperor was so in love with her that he didn't wake up early to go to court, and he spent all his time on her with just like feast and revelry. And yeah, and because of that, he also gave her siblings all titles, like official titles, and made her family, the Yang family, like very prominent. And this, they actually think a lot of officials thought this was not a good thing, because yeah, it's just like the emperor's forsaking his official duties, and now everyone, right, instead of like raising scholars, like wanting their children to be scholars, they just want them to be like a beautiful woman, because that's sort of how the Yang family came into prominence. And clearly the scholars are not happy that nobody wants to be like them. Yeah, so that's the sort of the critique they have. I think it's kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of suspicious to say, this whole, the decline of the empire all resulted from one person. I mean, I'm sure there's larger structural forces at play here, but that's sort of the narrative that's being circulated. And yeah, so, but now, right, these war drums booming from Yuyang shocked the whole earth. So this is the Anlushan rebellion. And that just, I think this general Anlushan at the border was like doing like border defense. He sort of turned and came to attack the capital. So yeah, all these horses and chariots, they're coming, and and as part of the rebellion, they killed the Lady Yang. Yeah, and so that was even though they managed to sort of turn back the rebellion in the end, but the consequence is that the Tang dynasty was quite weakened, and also Lady Yang died. Yeah. And so the emperor was just really, really sad, right? It's just, and the love of his life is gone. And so just he cannot stop thinking of her. Yeah. Yeah. So, and there's this idea that the ghost can sort of return into the dreams to visit their loved ones, but no one ever visited. So he never saw her in his dreams, which is why he's also very troubled. And then that's when they heard of this priest, right, at Ling Chong, who could, I don't know, he had magical powers. He could, fly over heaven, or to visit the dead under the earth. And so that's when he was tasked by the emperor to find Lady Yang. And so then he went to this, I guess, this enchanted isle at sea. It's kind of like not really of this world, right? It's intangible and incorporeal. And so he found this lady called the Ever True, Tai Zhen. And here, right, So when she heard that an envoy from the Emperor of China was there, then she came. So this is where sort of her spirit went off. And yeah, so she came and she said, please tell, she told the priest that please tell the emperor, please give the emperor her thanks. And yeah, she could never, when she tries to look down at the capital, at the palace, she can't see. And so all she can do is she sent out this box and the hairpin, right? And because she sort of like gave him one half of it lah. And so when the idea is that when the pin and that box are reunited, so too will, that's the day when her and the emperor will be reunited lah. Yeah. And he's telling her this thing that only the emperor and her will know. And so it's proof that it's really coming from her, right? I think, yeah, it's so beautiful. These last lines says, we wish to fly in heaven, two birds with the wings of one, and to grow together on the earth, two branches of one tree. So these lines are very famous, very, very famous. And it says, yeah, so earth endures, heaven endures, sometime both shall end, while this unending sorrow goes on and on forever. And the sorrow, that's why you have the name of the song of unending sorrow. The sorrow is in I guess this love that was ended in an untimely way. Yeah. So I think this poem is interesting because it's, as much as it recognizes the love between them, I think it also recognizes that, or at least it thinks that it was not good. It was a love that wasn't good for the world. I mean, it thinks that, she sort of brought about the end of the fall, the decline of the empire, right? So I know, kind of sus, but the idea that she was responsible, but I think there is this, the poem is kind of sympathetic to the two of them, even as it sees that it's not, it's also a very flawed relationship in that way. Yeah. So you see so many comments because it's so iconic, right? Wonder if you guys have any thoughts about this. Because I don't know, I'm not sure what I can say beyond just reading the poem. Just wow. Maybe if we look at some of these comments, a lot of these are just like quoting famous lines are like, wow, so good. Uh, hmm. This is there's 120 lines in this, but when you read it, you do not hate it for being long. I think that's really fair. Such a good poem. Hmm. I do sort of wish they sort of described her more than just being very beautiful. Like if they could share like her personality. But it is what it is. Yeah. Mm. Okay, maybe just yeah, just like I think my favorite lines are here. 在天愿作比翼鸟，在地愿为连理枝。So, all right. Okay, I guess a good time to Danica has to go. So, all right. Thanks for staying. And yeah, I guess good time to end this part. Uh, for here as well. Let me just say bye. Yeah, I'm glad we managed to get through this poem though. Like, not much to analyze, I guess. It's just, yeah, really good. Yeah. Oh, the English for the two lines I was saying was, yeah, that we wish to fly in heaven, two birds with the wings of one, and to grow together on the earth, two branches of one tree. So wow, really good lines. Yeah. Okay, looks like we actually just have two more poems to go. I think we could finish this. Kind of a long one, but okay. We did probably the longest already, so I'm sure it'll get easier. Oh, this has a preface as well, actually. All right, I think we can get through this then. So 琵琶行并序, the song of a guitar, it also comes with a preface. Oh geez, let's do the preface first. So from here to here is the preface. Pretty sure it's not translated as well, so we need to, I'll just translate it on the spot. So 人和10年，日左千九江，军司马。明年秋，送客彭浦口。闻船中夜弹琵琶者，听其音，铮铮然有京都声。问其人，本长安昌女，常学琵琶于木曹二善才。年长色衰，尾身为贾人妇。遂命酒，使快弹数曲。曲罢泯然，自叙少小时欢乐事。今飘沦憔悴，转涉于江湖间。日出关2年，恬然自安。感思人言，世袭始觉有千折意。因为长句歌以赠之，凡616言，命曰《琵琶行》。So in the 10th year of 元和, it's just some year, I was the Sima of wait, was it him or he? 左贤, okay, he was demoted. Okay. So I was demoted to become the Sima of just this official of Jiujiangjun. And in the autumn of next year, I sent my guest to this place called Penfu, and then I heard on the boat someone playing the pipa as an instrument at night. Hearing its sound when it's like zheng zheng, and it sounds like the capital. I guess the way its capital is played. Oh, okay. So when I hear the zheng zheng is the sound of metal and the jade instruments hitting each other. And I hear the sound of the capital is the popular tunes in the capital. Okay. And asking who it is, it's this performer from Chang'an, and she's trying to learn the pipa from Mu and Cao, these two talented performers. And then she is kind of old and sort of losing her beauty. She's she's what, the wife of some she's married to some merchant. And then that's why I ordered wine and asked her to quickly play some tunes. And after the songs ended, I was a little sad and started talking about the wait, is it I or she? I'm not sure who. Oh, when she was done, she looked kind of sad, and then she started talking about her life when she was young. Her, like, the joyous things in her youth, and now she's like wandering and kind of haggard, kind of lean, right? And she's traveling, has to wander. I have been what's this? I have been exiled, I guess, sent out of the capital for 2 years, and kind of at peace about it. But I feel, upon hearing what she said today, I started to feel a little the feeling of being exiled. Yeah, because of this, and that's why I made this poem, and to give it to her in exchange, to gift it to her, and it has 616 characters, and I call it 琵琶行, or call it the song of a guitar, or the 琵琶 lah. Yeah. Okay, wow. So this quite a specific encounter. Yeah. So it's only hearing her story that he feels sad about his demotion. Interesting. So now we are at here. Okay. Let's see if any comments from you first. If not, I will just start. Oh. 云沿江头夜送客，枫叶荻花秋琵琶。主人下马客在船，举杯欲饮无管弦。醉不成欢惨将别，别时茫茫江清月。突闻水上琵琶声，主人忘归客不发。寻声暗问弹者谁？琵琶声停日语迟。移船相近邀相见，添酒回灯重开宴。千呼万唤始出来，犹抱琵琶半遮面。转骤拨弦三两声，未成曲调先有情。旋旋言意声声思，似诉平生不得志。低眉信手续续弹，说尽心中无限事。青龙慢年抹复挑，初为泥塘后六腰。大弦嘈嘈如急雨，小弦切切如私语。嘈嘈切切错杂弹，大珠小珠落日盘。间关阴雨花底滑，幽烟泉流水下滩。水泉冷涩悬凝绝，凝绝不通声渐歇。别有忧愁暗恨生，此时无声胜有声。银瓶耳破水将尽，铁骑突出刀枪 鸣，曲中收获当心话，四弦一声如裂锦，东传西舫悄无言，唯见江心秋月白。沉凝放拨插弦中，整顿衣裳起敛容。自言本是京城女，家在阿嬷陵下住。13学得琵琶成，名属教坊第一部。学罢曾教善才服，妆成美婢秋娘户。50年少争缠头，一曲红绡不知数。钿头银篦击节碎，血色罗裙翻酒余。今年欢笑复明年，秋月春风等闲度。弟走从军阿姨死，暮去朝来颜色故。门前冷落车马稀，老大嫁作商人妇。商人重利轻别离，前月浮梁买茶去。去来江口受空船，绕船月明江水寒。夜深突梦少年事，梦笛妆泪红阑干。我闻琵琶已叹息，又闻此语重唧唧。同是天涯沦落人，相逢何必曾相识。我从去年辞帝京，谪居卧病浔阳城。浔阳地僻无音乐，终岁不闻丝竹声。住近湓江地低湿，黄芦苦竹绕宅生。其间旦暮闻何物？杜鹃啼血猿哀鸣。春江花朝秋月夜，往往取酒还独倾。岂无山歌与村笛，偶雅潮折难为听。今夜闻君琵琶语，如闻仙乐耳暂明。莫辞更作弹一句，各为君翻作《琵琶行》。感我此言良久立，却作促旋转急。凄凄不似向前声，满座重闻皆咽气。座中泣下随坠多，江州司马青衫湿。I was bidding a guest farewell at night on the Shenyang River, where maple leaves and full-grown rushes rustled in the autumn. I, the host, had dismounted, my guest had boarded his boat, and we raised our cups and wished to drink, but, alas, there was no music. For all we had drunk, we felt no joy and were parting from each other, when the river widened mysteriously toward a full moon. We had heard a sudden sound, a guitar across the water. Host forgot to turn back home, and guest to go his way. We followed where the melody led and asked the player's name. The sound broke off, then reluctantly she answered. We moved our boat near hers, invited her to join us, summoned more water and lanterns to recommence our banquet. Yet we called and urged 1,000 times before she started towards us, still hiding half her face from us behind her guitar. She turned the tuning pegs and tested several strings. We could feel what she was feeling, even before she played. Each string a meditation, each note a deep thought, as if she were telling us the ache of her whole life. She knit her brows, flexed her fingers, then began her music, little by little letting her heart share everything with ours. She brushed the strings, twisted them slow, swept them, plucked them. First the air of the rainbow skirt, then the 6 little ones. The large strings hummed like rain, the small strings whispered like a secret. Hummed, whispered, and then were intermingled, like a pouring of large and small pearls into a plate of jade. We heard an aureole, liquid, hidden among flowers. We heard a brook bitterly sob along a blank of sand. By the checking of its cold touch, the very string seemed broken, as though it could not pass, and the notes, dying away, into a depth of sorrow and concealment of lament, told even more in silence than they had told in sound. A silver vase abruptly broke with a gush of water, and out leapt armored horses and weapons that clashed and smoked. And, before she laid her pick down, she ended with one stroke, and all four strings made one sound as of rending silk. There was quiet in the east boat and quiet in the west, and we saw the white autumnal moon enter the river's heart. When she had slowly placed the pick back among the strings, she rose and smoothed her clothing and, formal, courteous, told us how she had spent her girlhood at the capital, living in her parents' house under the Mount of Toads, and had mastered the guitar at the age of 13, with her name recorded first in the class roll of musicians, her art the admiration even of experts, her beauty the envy of all the leading dancers, how noble youths of Wuling had lavishly competed, and numberless red rolls of silk been given for one song, and silver combs with shell inlay been snapped by her rhythms, and skirts the color of blood been spoiled with stains of wine. Season after season, joy had followed joy. Autumn moons and spring winds had passed without her heeding, till first her brother left for the war, and then her aunt died. And evenings went and evenings came, and her beauty faded, with ever fewer chariots and horses at her door, so that finally she gave herself as wife to a merchant, who, prizing money first, careless how he left her, had gone, a month before, to Fuliang to buy tea. And she had been tending an empty boat at the river's mouth, no company but the bright moon and the cold water. And sometimes in the deep of night she would dream of her triumphs and be wakened from her dreams by the scalding of her tears. Her very first guitar note had started me sighing. Now, having heard her story, I was sadder still. We are both unhappy to the sky's end. We meet, we understand. What does acquaintance matter? I came a year ago, away from the capital, and am now a sick exile here in Zhejiang. So remote is Zhejiang that I have heard no music, neither string nor bamboo, for a whole year. My quarters near the river town are low and damp, with bitter reeds and yellow rushes all around the house. And what is to be heard here, morning and evening? The bleating cry of cuckoos, the whimpering of apes, on flowery spring mornings and moonlit autumn nights. I have often taken wine up and drunk it all alone. Of course, there are the mountain songs and the village pipes, but they are crude and strident and grate on my ears. And tonight, when I heard you playing your guitar, I felt as if my hearing were bright with fairy music. Do not leave us. Come sit down. Play for us again. And I will write a long song concerning a guitar. Moved by what I said, she stood there for a moment, then said again to her strings, and they sounded even sadder. Although the tunes were different from those she had played before, the feasters, all listening, covered their faces. But who of them all was crying the most? This Zhejiang official. My blue sleeve was wet. Wow. Wow. Isn't this such an amazing story? Like you're just on a boat in the middle, I guess, of nowhere, and you hear this like great music, and you just have this like, very meaningful, encounter. It feels like you understand her through her music, and you can also understand her how she feels in her life, right? Cecily, we are both unhappy to the sky's end. We meet, we understand. What does acquaintance matter? Wow. Yeah, I'm not sure what else there is to say. Yeah, it's just wow. Like the story says everything, huh? Mm. Well, let me drink some water, and then we can look at the famous critics. Mm, wow. It says here, it says is writing about someone who's in a similar situation. So yeah, I guess a similar situation is like she's married to this merchant who doesn't understand him, right? Who doesn't appreciate her. It's like how he's not being appreciated by the emperor. So this is a very long history of like scholars or poets comparing themselves to uh like a beautiful woman, right? Who's not appreciated by her husband. So I think that definitely adds to the sentiment here. Yeah. I think that's about it actually for this poem. Just I think it's just capturing a very special moment. And yeah, sharing their loneliness, as Jose says. Yeah. I mean, it's actually quite crazy, right? When he says like he's like he's so rural that he has not heard like music for like a year. And then suddenly he hears this like amazing music for that's just everyone that like, you know, she was like top of her class and like people would pay so much just to listen to her. It's really I think it's just like how and just like how she is like this great musician is not appreciated, then he is this great poet that is unappreciated and in the middle of nowhere. So I think they are really two people who can understand each other. And that's why the one who was crying the most is himself, right? This Zhejiang official and whose blue sleeve is wet. Yeah. And he's sort of writing this poem as I guess as a response or as thanks for all this music she's playing. Yeah. I mean they should become friends, right? Like I don't know. They should hang out. Like, yeah, but it's really seems like a really, really beautiful moment. Really rare and very powerful. Okay, maybe just this final one. It's quite a bit shorter than the rest, I think. So, I mean, it's not that short. I think I'm just used to the long poems by now. So, it's by a different author, different poet, by Li Shangyin, called the Han Monument, Han Bei. Okay, let's give it a go. 人和天子神武姿，彼何人哉？轩宇兮，是江上雪列圣池。做法宫中列四夷，淮南有贼50载。封狼生屈生霸，生皮。不惧山河惧平地，长歌利毛日可磨。地得圣相相曰度。贼拙不死神扶持，腰悬相应作都统。阴风惨淡天王旗，素古通作牙爪。夷曹外郎载彼随，行军司马智且勇。14万众有虎皮，入蔡伯贼献太庙。公无日让恩不资，帝曰如度公第一，如从是月宜为辞。月拜世手导且舞，今时刻画诚能为。古者世称大手笔，此事不息于直思。当人治国有不让，言弃驴汉天子仪。公退斋戒作小阁，如染大笔和伶俐。言传谣典顺典字，涂改清妙声明词。声明诗，文成破体书在纸。清晨再拜普丹池， 表曰纯日昧死上，永神圣公书之笔，笔高3丈自如斗，复以灵鳌盘以之，聚其与众日者少。禅之天子言其思，长绳100尺，夜比道。粗沙大石相磨制，公之斯文若元气，先师已入人肝脾。汤盘孔鼎有数座，今无其器存其词，名乎不对，sorry，no，呜呼圣皇及圣相，项羽选贺刘纯熙，公之斯文不仕后。和与3、5相攀追，愿书万本诵万过，口角流墨右手之，传之70有2代，以为风禅玉简明堂基。Interesting. The last one is a bit longer. Last line is longer than the rest. Okay. The Son of Heaven in Yuanhe times was martial as a god and might be likened only to the emperors Xuan and Xi. He took an oath to reassert the glory of the empire, and tribute was brought to his palace from all 4 quarters. Western Huai for 50 years had been a bandit country, wolves becoming lynxes, lynxes becoming bears. They assailed the mountains and rivers, rising from the plains, with their long spears and sharp lances aimed at the sun. But the emperor had a wise premier by the name of Du, who, guarded by spirits against assassination, hung at his girdle the seal of state and accepted chief command, while these savage winds were harrying the flags of the ruler of heaven. General Suo Wu Gu Tong became his paws and claws. Civil and military experts brought their writing brushes. And his recording advisor was wise and resolute. 140,000 soldiers, fighting like lions and tigers, captured the bandit chieftains for the imperial temple. So complete a victory was a supreme event, and the emperor said, "To you, Du, should go the highest honor, and you and your secretary Yu should write a record of it." When Yu had bowed his head, he leapt and danced, saying, "Historical writings on stone and metal are my especial art, and since I know the finest brushwork of the old masters, my duty in this instant is more than merely official, and I should be at fault if I modestly declined." The emperor, on hearing this, nodded many times, and Yu retired and fasted, and in the narrow workroom, his great brush thick with ink as with drops of rain, chose characters like those in the canons of Yao and Shun, and the style as in the ancient poems Qing Miao and Sheng Min. And soon the description was ready on a sheet of paper. In the morning he laid it, with a bow, on the purple stairs. He memorialized the throne. I, unworthy, have dared to record this exploit for a monument. The tablet was 30 feet high, with characters large as dippers. It was set on a sacred tortoise, its columns flanked with ragons. The phrases were strange with deep words that few could understand, and jealousy entered and malice and reached the emperor, so that a rope 100 feet long pulled the tablet down, and coarse sand and small stones ground away its face. But literature endures like the universal spirit, and its breath becomes a part of the vitals of all men. The Tang plate, the Confucian tripod are eternal things, not because of their forms, but because of their inscriptions. Sagacious is our sovereign and wise his minister, and high their successes and prosperous their reign. But unless it be recorded by a writing such as this, how may they hope to rival the 3 and 5 good rulers? I wish I could write 10,000 copies to read 10,000 times, till spittle ran from my lips and calluses hardened my fingers, and still could hand them down through 72 generations as cornerstones for rooms of great deeds on the sacred mountains. I didn't get what's going on here. Okay, I think there's quite a few historical allusions here. But who is the one whose inscription got destroyed? Oh, it's Han Yu. Okay, so it's Han Yu, it's the guy we've been talking about just now. Okay, so let's actually look at what's going on. So the son of heaven in Renhe times, so it's the emperor of the Tang dynasty. He was like might be likened only to the emperors Xuan and Xi. So these are just some famous emperors in the distant past. Okay. And he took an oath to restore the glory of the empire and tribute brought to his palace from all four quarters. And so then he was kind of Western Huai was chaotic, but he had a wise minister called Du. Okay, this is Pei Du. This is a minister, okay. And then he sort of took command, and he had these four generals: Li Shuo, Han Gongwu, Li Daogu, and Li Wentong. So they're all like great generals, okay. And they finally captured the bandits, and he says, to you, the prime minister, right, Li Du, should go the highest honor, and your secretary Han Yu should write a record of it. Okay. Then he was like, okay. Then Han Yu's like, yes, this is like my specialty, so I should probably do this. And then he goes and he writes like a really good poem. And then he wrote it on the tablet that was like huge, but few could understand it. And then the emperor felt jealous. I wonder why. So the emperor tried to destroy it. I wonder why it got destroyed. What did he say? Okay, let's look at that later. And then, but he says, literature endures like the universal spirit, and its breath becomes a part of the vitals of all men. The tongue plate, and the Confucian tripod. So let's see what these are. Okay, so this is a Tang, not the Tang dynasty, but Tang from the Shang dynasty. So that's really long ago. It's like 1000 BC. And the tripod from the Confucius' ancestor, apparently. So these are just I guess metaphors or analogies. I guess metaphors for the Han Yu's tablet, Han Yu's inscription. Okay, and then he's sort of going against that. Well, our minister, our emperor and our minister are doing so well, but without something that's written, good writing like this, how can they be remembered like these 3 and 5 good rulers, the San Huang Wu Di from ancient times? So if people don't write it down, who will remember you? And in the end, he says, I wish I could write this inscription 10,000 times, right? And so that I could hand them down to 72 generations, and as cornerstones for the rooms of great deeds on the sacred mountains. So it's just so that it can be remembered. Yeah. Wow. I wonder why. What's up with the inscription? Why was it not like that? Yeah, but Li Shangyin completely agrees with what Han Yu wrote. Yeah, but one of the generals apparently didn't like the Pei Du, the prime minister's or Han Yu, the way Han Yu was promoting the prime minister. And then that's why Li Shuo, who is related to the imperial family, so the unhappy general's wife, right, who's related to the imperial family, said, oh, actually this inscription was untrue, which is why the inscription was taken down. Okay. So this is like, it's kind of like disputing like fake news. I don't know. I guess it is kind of like censorship, right? It's kind of like this guy is telling the truth, and then someone didn't look good in the story, and then so he was trying to get it taken down. But this is not something that, this is great literature, and this is true as well. So you as the emperor, you need truthful poets who are really good poets to live forever. And now instead, what's living forever is the fact that the emperor, was short-sighted and sort of destroyed the inscription, right? So yeah, okay, kind of a very specific situation, but quite kind of interesting. Fascinating. Okay. Let's see, is there any interesting comments? If not, I might just call it a day. Okay, so this is similar to Han Yu's, the one we read just now, the Stone Drum poem. It's almost like a sequel, even though it's by different poets, because it's about like sort of spiting or kind of pointing out the flaws of the emperor, the government. And it says in this poem is actually trying to is using the inscription of Han Yu as a device. But he says it's not copying Han Yu's style. Interesting. Okay. Not copying his poetic style. Okay, interesting. Interesting. But this is kind of learning Han Yu's style as well, but maybe in his prose. Not super sure. I guess it's kind of a disagreement here. But anyway, it says, yeah, those who are talented, there's nothing they cannot do. So you're so talented, you can even copy someone. I guess that's true, right? If you can imitate someone's style, but in like a going beyond a mere imitation, but to make it your own, right? So yeah, I think this was kind of an interesting historical moment that's captured here. It's not as personal, but also pretty interesting. I think the sentiment that good literature lives forever is quite powerful. Yeah. I think that's really about it for today. So while we finish all of these 7-character ancient verses, so next week we will be starting on this. Oh, these Yuefu. That's nice. I like these folk song style verses. Quite a bit shorter. And I'm kind of interested to see what they'll be about. So yeah, it'll be a nice change of pace and pretty exciting. So thanks for coming today, and especially if you stayed throughout the whole thing. And yeah, I hope to see you next week. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.